back. This is the ShopBirdy AI Design Studio. These are some of the latest features, and let's just jump right into it. So the first thing you'll see is that I've just did a successful batch generation, and I've created 5 images out of a total of 6 attempts. 1 attempt failed. Maybe it just, for whatever reason, that generation just didn't complete. So we can go back and retry that afterwards. But the important bit is that I just created 5 cool images, all using basically different filters, different backgrounds, but using the same initial product image. The product image in this case is a crystal ball, right? So I just generated using ShopBirdy AI a simple crystal ball because I wanted to use an example prompt, right? So here's the image that I used, and then maybe I'll actually just I'll walk you through how it works. So the first thing you can do is you can upload any image. So let's say it's this thing. This is a backpack, right? So, but we know that this this product is a backpack. But normally, when you upload an image, the AI doesn't know what it is yet until it actually analyzes it. It has to sort of scan it or analyze it to understand what it's looking at. So we have a tool that has a built-in image analysis, and then it will actually, you can copy that and use that as your product prompt. So once the AI determines like this is a structured black backpack, multiple zippered pockets, top handle, subtle crosshatch texture. The colors and the materials is matte black, textured synthetic fabric, dark metal hardware, style and mood, minimalist, professional, sleek, contemporary, functional aesthetic. And scene and context, isolated studio product shot, dark graded background, low-key lighting. And this, technically there is no background here, it's a transparent background, but overall I would say that's a pretty good description. So it's got the aesthetic right, it's got the product design style right, the colors and everything else, so that's good. But let's go back to this crystal ball just to give you that live example, and we'll describe it once again. It should just say this is a crystal ball, spherical, glossy, a pristine, perfectly spherical, clear orb with prominent bright reflections. Glossy white and light gray with sharp white highlights, dark gray refractions set against a solid black background. Again, technically, there is no background here, so I need to double check if the vision analysis understands a transparent background versus a colored or filled background. But overall, it looks good. I can then adjust that, so we'll remove transparent background. I'll put set against a transparent background. Scene and context, we probably don't need that part. But now that we have this as both a prompt and a reference image, I can use, let's go back to this. I can use AI to now select which scenes would work good for this product. So I created the product initially with ShopBirdy. I uploaded it. I asked the AI to analyze it. Then it analyzes it and it writes it in the form of a description. I then use that description and pass that along to the AI model to then say, based on this, what are some examples of scenes in our library, in our catalog, all templates that we have. Pick 5 or 6 scenes that would work great for this product. Then I have those scenes selected, I switch over to batch mode, and I can now generate these in parallel, which should happen much faster than if you were to do it one by one, by manually prompting, or even just calling the API in a synchronous fashion. Ideally, we're going to try to parallelize this so that we can actually run multiple generations in parallel. And then it would be great if we can have automatic retries if there was any failure or any reason why we didn't get a perfect output. So then that would be built into this tool as well. But currently it is now calling the service and it's going to try to generate these images for us. While we're waiting on that, I want to bring your attention to ShopBirdy.ai's new sales assistant. So we now have a sales assistant AI that can actually answer questions and eventually help you set up your own plan or your own package for subscribing to our service. So let's say, for example, I have a max budget of, let's just say $1,000. What do you recommend? And then this sales agent, AI sales assistant, will actually be able to work within your budget and tell you what kind of plans might fit for you. So for example, with a $1,000 budget, a practical option is the catalog sprint. You can get 1,000 images with a maximum 1-day turnaround time at just over $1 per image, totaling about $1,190 before any taxes or run fees. So it would slightly exceed your target. To stay under that budget, you could start with the Developer API Starter, which is, we have basically a flat rate of about $1 per image. So that would give you 1,000 images of the lower quality output, but still very good. But it's not the highest quality. But again, this gives you several different options. And then if you want to ask other questions like, can you label products with the closed taxonomy we provide? So let's say you have a bunch of images and you want them to all be labeled according to how you call those products. So it maintains consistency with your taxonomy, your ontology, and so forth. We can actually do that. We actually have services that will allow us to help you manage your digital assets very holistically. Everything from data labeling to the whole pipeline to the actual generation, we can provide that as a service. So you can think of this as image generation as a service. or even image management as a service. All right, so here we are. We've got the batch generation finished. And again, I think it does a great job of illustrating what we are actually trying to achieve with this. We're taking one product and then we're generating multiple different backgrounds and creating a whole new image for that product. And the other thing I want to do is download these. It looks like there's been one failed generation, which was the Modern Medical Laboratory. Ideally, we'd have more information about that, or we could automatically do a retry. But in the meantime, this is, I think, a great working example of how this works. So with this, I will actually then be able to use these backgrounds, the actual images, and I would replace these templates with actual images of what it would look like. I'll use the crystal ball as a way to kind of just illustrate a placeholder product, or product that could be anything that you want it to be, really. And then I'll update this so that you can actually see what it would look like, not just from a description, but you can actually see an actual image that was generated using this. But that, I think, is really, really cool. Other things you could do is you could take your product here, since we've analyzed it, we can then create a scene around that. So build, let's say we wanted to build a scene for this product. Build a scene for this product below. And hopefully this works. It looks like we're running into a few issues with the custom scene generator. If it doesn't work, I will resolve that in just a moment. I think there may have been a breaking change that was introduced when I added the changes to the batch generation and the AI suggestion, the suggester feature, which looks through our existing library of templates and then helps to select from those pre-built templates. This is a custom scene generator. It looks like it has a small issue. I will be able to resolve this. But I've demonstrated what this looks like before, and it actually works really good. I'll be resolving this shortly. But this is, I think, a great example of what's possible when you can automate images at scale. And so effectively, what you want to imagine is that eventually you'll have these images generated much faster, and possibly even on the fly as users are browsing your website. And you can adjust this so that not only are you creating a variety of different backgrounds but with the same product, but you could also do things like time of day as one of the parameters. So if you want to have the shadows being cast and the light coming from a certain direction, you could generate the same scene at multiple times of the day. So you could have a morning, an afternoon, an evening. You could be very granular. You can actually define where the position of the lighting should be placed, and you could generate all the different angles that the light would be cast, the shadows would be casting, and the light would be coming from. You could generate all of those. So you could have, let's say, 12 different images for 12 different hours of the day, all in the same scene, but you could have sort of like a time lapse. So that's one way to kind of multiply a single image by, let's say, 10 times, is that you could generate it for 10 different times of the day, same image, but as a sort of a time lapse. So that's one factor that you can increase your number of images. So if you have 10 products, but then you wanted to try to have each of them have a time lapse of 10 different lighting settings, that could be possible. The other thing you could do is you could have different angles. So you have the first person perspective, but then you might want to have an isometric perspective. You may want to have like a head-on perspective. You may want it to be a classroom from the position of the student's desk, or the classroom from the teacher's desk, for example. So there's lots of different ways that you could actually think about using these scenes. But as you can see, I've generated them on different runs, and the consistency is generally pretty good. And that's because of how we construct our prompts. So this is an example of a glass orb in sort of like a bathroom setting. So this is a great scene for bathroom products, for example. That was one. And then here's another example of that. Quite similar. It's got essentially a sort of mirror and a tile wall and sort of a marble shelf or counter, and it has some props in the form of a potted plant and some folded towels. This gives you more of like a whimsical, almost cartoon style, which is, again, completely up to your imagination. If you were looking to have this isolated in sort of a studio, you could do that here. And if you wanted it to be placed in sort of like a laboratory setting, let's say you're doing medical devices or scientific research, this is a scene that you could use, for example. So really, again, there's just so many different possibilities. I'm pretty excited about where this will go, because eventually you want to imagine that ShopBirdy could effectively help you manage your whole online store, providing rich images that are intelligently served to users. So depending on the time of day, the location that the user is browsing from, we could decide, you know what, this is the best image for that time and place and for that user. So let's display this image based on these personalization parameters. So by doing this and making it pretty much automatic, you would start to see lift in all your key metrics or your key performance indicators. So whether that is higher click-through rates, or more dwell time, people are looking at the images for longer, they're spending more time with that product as part of their consideration, that could eventually lead to higher sales. And very soon, we're actually going to be running some pilot tests with actual customers so that we can actually measure what is the lift. Because sometimes it takes time to measure. You want to have enough of a sample size so that you can accurately make a projection to a typical consumer in terms of what would their ROI be for investing in something like the ShopBirdy image management system or image generation service. So we're looking forward to being able to share more details about that. But if you are interested in getting started, right, we're having an introductory price point, roughly starting at roughly $1 per image. The pricing is variable based on the volume and also based on your turnaround time and also the quality. So we can produce very high fidelity images. We can produce low, medium, high, and we can also produce different number of volume of images. So if you have 10,000 different products and you want to have one image for each of them, then we could do the 10,000 launch kit plan for you, or the Agency Rush Turbo if you need it with a very quick turnaround time. If you have these 10,000 images and you don't want to have just one image per product, but you want to have, let's say, a gallery for each product. Let's say you want to have 10 different images for each of those images, then that would be 100,000 images for that job. And this can scale up and down as needed. But the important part is that these tools are now ready now. They're available today. You can use these already right now. And I encourage you to come to ShopBirdy AI and try it for yourself. All right, that's all for now. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.